KCAA.
Live and in color from the NBC News radio broadcasting studios of KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, located in beautiful Southern California, and in parallel from the Turfs Up radio studio in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Thanks for tuning in to the Water Zone show this evening.
Hello, a pleasant afternoon, and welcome to the Water Zone. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm your host, Rob Starr. I hope everybody's having a great time, no matter where you are in the world. So it's good afternoon, good evening, good morning, and thanks for joining us. I appreciate everybody coming on. The last couple of weeks, I've been making an announcement about a couple things, and one was in reference to my good buddy, and still my good buddy forever and ever, is Mr. Chris Davey, who, as I told you, has decided to retire and enjoy life and wish for a grandchild with his wife, not his wife having the baby, but his daughter having the baby, or trying to have a baby, I guess is the right thing to say. And so he's enjoying life that way, and working around the house. And he told me the other day when I talked to him every day just so everybody knows, because we're good friends, best friends. And he's doing so much stuff around his home. He's working harder than he did when he had a real job during the daytime. So I give him a lot of credit for that. But he has an awesome yard. He's a great gardener and uses all the latest technology to keep it nice and green and grow his vegetables. And he's a good guy. But anyway, so the mic that he had was kind of empty now because he's not using it. He'll call into the show now and then and say hi. I think he's listening today. He usually does. But I have somebody that's going to come on and fill his position. And it's a wonderful person. Her name is Toro Mulally, and she is the Public Outreach and External Affairs Manager for United Water Conservation District, where she leads communications, stakeholder engagement, media relations, and with more than a decade of experience in strategic planning and award-winning outreach campaigns for agencies across California, from Eureka to Imperial County. She's known for making complex water issues accessible and compelling. And Tara has served on the California Association of Local Agency Formations Commission Legislative Advisory Commission, and she also sits on ACWA, which is Association of California Water Agencies Communications Committee, and continues to champion collaboration and transparency in California. And one other thing, I mean, she's got a resume that's longer than I can read, but one thing, she's recognized statewide as a water rates expert, and Tara has served on numerous panels and informational sessions, including agencies and communities navigate the complexities of rate structures, affordability, and policy communication. And again, I can go on and on and on, but that'll take the whole show up to read all the credits that she has. I'm very, very pleased to introduce her to the Water Zone and people. And Tara, welcome very kindly.
Sounds like I have some pretty big boots to fill, so I hope we can become new best friends. But I'm really excited to be here today, and I can't wait to introduce our first guest.
Yeah, well, just to clarify, the big shoes, I think he wears a 9.5, Chris, so I think you can
fill okay. So then I'm close. I'm actually pretty close.
Yeah, I was looking for Miss Chris Austin, and I don't see her logged in, which surprises me. I know she's traveling out of town and taking care of her parents, and I hope they're okay. So I'm going to go look and see if she has something on the board here that we can probably talk about. So, Tara, this is your first night, and we'll keep it simple and easy. We got great guests coming up afterwards, a great technical discussion. But in California Water News today, she talked about some Sierra Nevada glaciers are all going to be gone. They're all disappearing. Why? Because they're melting. And it's the first time anybody's going to ever see them in a millennia. What do you think about that?
So it's a little scary. I'm not going to lie. Our snowpack is one of the most reliable sources of water that we have here in California. And so to hear that the glaciers are actually not only disappearing, but potentially forever, that was some really old water that we were really hoping to sort of keep around for a long time. And now we're relying on the more cyclical cycles of precipitation. So I'm nervous. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little scared.
Well, you work for a water district. What's happening with them? And while you're doing that, I'm going to try to find where she is.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we're really doing to combat that kind of snowpack issue is to build these reservoirs in order to ensure that we can capture the water that's coming when it comes, because obviously the snowpack isn't going to stay there forever, and much to our chagrin. But we really want to make sure that we can build that infrastructure for not just today but tomorrow and well into the future. We want to that important really capture the water, and so it doesn't go into the ocean. We really want to make sure that we keep it right here.
Things are going to look a little different over the years, but things come and go, and it happens all the time. I mean, there was water before. Hello, hold on, got a call in. Hello.
So,
hi.
I know this water maven is water mavening, and I'm super excited to have her on shortly. But in the meantime, one of the other things that is critical to this infrastructure is the Delta Conveyance Project, and sort of seeing that come to fruition. So I'm really excited to hear about the latest legislation in that space, which was also on her latest update. We have an update from Chris?
Yeah, I got her on the phone. She's going to call in. I think this is a test. We're all trying it out today to see how quick and you can pick up all the stuff. Both Chris's are very good at that. And like I said, I know she's up visiting her parents, helping take care of them. They're in their 90s, so it's okay. So, but anyway, she'll be calling in. And so anyway, she talks about that. But I agree with you. There's been snow peaks forever. They're going to go away, and that's one of our biggest sources of water for California. I know weather is changing, but people got to realize it goes in cycles. There was lots of droughts hundreds and thousands of years ago. There were also rainy seasons, hundreds of thousands. We just happen to be in the one that's getting a little dry. And, people got to learn to utilize their water more efficiently, more carefully. The water that we get today is from 1 million years ago or longer. It's just recycled. And sometimes with all these new technologies and things that are happening and the way lifestyle goes, sometimes you can't recycle that water. It gets polluted, contaminated, or something happens to it, and it's not going to be good for it. But the good part about technology is that every couple of years they come up with a good solving problems situation. And that helps the world and everybody kind of really step back for a moment and really understand how water is really critical. Without water, you can't live. People talk about green. They can't have green unless they have blue. Yeah, you got it right behind you. And it's indoors,
exactly.
too.
It is indoors. And one of the things that is going to be happening with the climate shifting is that increasingly high levels of precipitation and then low levels of precipitation over time.
Unknown participant is now joining.
And that's the Water Maven joining us now.
Yeah.
Hi, Chris.
Yes,
nice to see you again.
Hi. Sorry, I had a busy day. I didn't have my watch on. If I don't have my electronic noose there, tapping on my wrist.
Well, this is a first for you in many years, so you know what? It's forgiven.
Oh, well, thank you. Welcome, Tara. Welcome to the show.
And you guys know
So
each other,
nice.
right? You guys know of each other and before, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Good.
Yes, I think
absolutely.
we've actually been in a few rooms on occasion together.
Just on occasion. Yeah, definitely.
Well, we were talking about the snow peaks disappearing, but maybe you can tell us a little about La Nina pattern to start in California's water year. What does that mean for the rain and temperatures and all of that? Chris?
Well, it's always a mixed bag with the El Niños and La Niñas, but DWR is expecting that we're going to have more of these extreme weather patterns that we've been having. So they're preparing for, what they call the hydroclimatic whiplash. So, they're saying fasten your seatbelts, go either way. Generally,
It's going to be a bumpy winter.
Yeah, generally La Nina means drier conditions, but it all depends on where the jet stream decides to go, and the jet stream sometimes gets a mind of its own and goes somewhere else. So, and the one thing we can probably count on, though, is more of these high intensity rainstorms. So we'll see where it all goes. You never know. California water, we get all our precipitation, all of our water supply in just those short winter months. And, it just takes one or two or three of those atmospheric rivers that are good, that brings in stuff. But, boy, you miss the storms, it really shows up in the water supply. So.
Well, we had part of a monsoon last week and had tons of rain for 2 days, and it was pretty horrific watching tons of water flow down the street. But you're right. But we're starting to enjoy at nighttime in the 80s degrees level versus 116 that sometimes it hits out here. So
it's been raining up in Northern California, and I'm over here in Reno today, and it's raining here in Reno as well. I think this is a relatively warm storm. There is some snow up there, but I don't think this is like a big snowmaker storm, but it is, watering the landscape, reducing the fire risk, and we always welcome the rain when it comes.
Absolutely. So what else is happening that you know about, Miss Austin? Because you're a busy lady, traveling, writing, that's all you do.
Yeah.
You need a life.
Well, actually, what was interesting today is Kern County Water Agency came out in favor of the Delta Tunnel project, which, Kern has been kind of hanging out there. And, it's been a question of how much are they, well, for a while it was, are they even going to participate? And now, and then it kind of became, well, they're going to participate, but not at the full level, at a reduced level. And now they've come out, in favor of the Delta Conveyance Project. So I thought that was kind of an interesting development.
Participant is now joining.
A few weeks ago, the Imperial Irrigation District came out in favor of the Delta Tunnel, which was very interesting because Imperial Irrigation District is in the Southern California desert. It doesn't get any Delta water. It's far away from the Delta, but they said, they were supporting the Delta Conveyance Project because that would help protect the Colorado River supplies that they depend on.
Well, they sustain
so
what?
We have some support for it, yeah.
No, I was going to say, there's, 8.7 million jobs and 800,000 businesses up there with farmland. I think it's important that they help support that.
Yeah, well, and, the State Water Project is part of their water supply, but they also have water rights coming from the Central Valley Project, and they also have, groundwater basins. They run a groundwater banking facility there, a lot of them, actually. So they are a big ag county, definitely. They're also, interestingly, a big oil and gas county. As much as they have agriculture, they have oil and gas drilling there in the southern San Joaquin Valley. Sometimes even pump jacks out in the middle of fields. So
what do you think caused them to shift their opinion? Because they were kind of hanging out for a while.
Yeah, and I think the cost is a concern, but I think as time goes on, people the agriculture people are starting to understand that they need to protect what supplies they have, and this would be an important part of their water supply. Now, whether they're going to bump up to do the full amount of, that they would a full buy-in into that project, that will remain to be seen. That's actually a big problem because Kern County was not in it 100%, and there's a couple of others, I don't know which ones, but at the time, about 6 months ago, they were actually not going to participate. And so Metropolitan is very concerned about this hole in the funding, and they're on the record going, we're only going to pay for our part of this project. We're not going to cover anybody else's part. So they've been putting pressure on the DWR, saying, how are you going to fill this? So perhaps, they're getting some encouragement to step up to the plate, because DWR has that poses a big question for DWR, how they could fill that funding gap without using public funds.
Well, yeah, and there was that MOU with Kern and Met, right? That happened not that long ago?
Yeah, I think that was for groundwater banking.
I'm just wondering if they're working better together now, a little bit more cohesively.
Yeah, they might be, definitely. And I think, DWR's got to figure out how they're going to, plug that funding hole. Of course, that's only, one challenge for this project. There's plenty of others out there, circling around. But interestingly enough, DWR is plodding forward. They're going to produce an environmental impact report for the water rights for the state water project that I guess they haven't ever fully taken. So they're trying to get this water rights issue resolved in the middle of this hearing. And so they're going to do an environmental impact report for this additional water. So that'll be another fun round of where everyone will participate.
Yeah, can't wait to see the public comment.
Yeah, the scoping meeting's coming up in 2 weeks, so.
Brett?
So
don't be shy. Don't be shy. It's your first day.
I'm trying to just get out. I have all these questions. I mean, it's the Maven on the other end of this phone, so I'm super excited. So going back to Kern and then IID, it's really interesting to me that IID finally shifted over in terms of funding for the state water project because of that whole. I know sometimes IID can really focus very importantly on Imperial County and what they're doing out there. And so I love the idea that they're seeing the impact of the Colorado River resources being needed inland, kind of more towards the coast. I say inland as away from the California border, but more towards the coast. And I love that they're sort of seeing that impact and then really addressing it by supporting the DCP. That's really interesting to me. So I'm super excited to see what's next for them.
Yeah, I should clarify. They're not giving any money for it because they're not going to get any benefits from it. They're just saying, hey, y'all, we all think you ought to build that project with all y'all's funds, mind you, not theirs. They got enough on their plate. They're trying to hold on to their Colorado River water, and that's another thing. Oh boy, the Colorado River. We're hurtling towards that deadline, November 11th. Which is kind of this line in the sand. Reclamation has said, here's the deadline. You must have a deal by this deadline. They started that about a year ago, the deadline, and then the deadline moves and moves. Well, now it's back to, I think, November 10th or 11th, and the states are nowhere near having any kind of agreement. And I just don't know if it's going to happen. Like I told this story before, I was good friends with Phil Eisenberg. He was a assemblyman, California assemblyman, mayor of Sacramento, and probably where I knew him from, the chair of the Delta Stewardship Council. And he was very involved in the negotiations when they had the Mono Lake decision came down, and Los Angeles had to cut back its water use for, so that Mono Lake could have more water. And so he was talking to the people in DWP and the other Southern California water interests, and they basically told him, we can't give you that water. You have to take it from us. Because basically saying, if we are seen to be giving you that water, our constituents are going to pillory us, right? So, you can take it from us, so we're not handing it over. And I kind of think that's where we're at in this set of negotiations. No one wants to give up the water. No one wants to be first to give up the water. And
when have they ever?
Yeah, and I think the reclamation is just going to have to come in and make a decision. And there's no easy decision here. I mean, I just don't know how you're going to divide the baby. That any way it goes, it's going to hurt.
Well, and the baby was smaller than they thought it was too, right? So they divvied up
the baby
actually exist.
Yeah, the baby is shrinking, and now they're still trying to figure out how to divvy it up. I mean, it's actually very serious. So we'll have to see what happens. Because I couldn't figure out how to do it. The lower basin really wants the upper basin to chip in some way and in some major way, and the upper basin, who've never really fully used their water anyways, are saying, why do we have to give up water when we weren't even using our full apportionment? So that's an understandable position,
Well, and
the lower
you don't
basin,
envy those people having to have, first of all, the conversation, second of all, to figure out what comes next, and then to, what do you do once the decision is made? That is a whole other kind of kettle of fish, where it's like, now you have this limited allocation. What do you do in order to support your operation in the way that you have before? Obviously, you're not going to be able to, so you've got to come up with all new solutions in order to address the water shortage that you're now experiencing. It's an unenviable position on all fronts.
Yeah, it really is. And Arizona is really the one that seems to have the most to lose in this battle. And they kind of sense that. So they've already set aside funds and built a group that's ready to file lawsuits, so which will just, we have and we had the academics that came out with the study 2 weeks ago that said, you guys better hurry up and make these cuts, because if this year is dry, you're going to need a lot more. And so, there is no room to continue the status quo. So if they come up with a decision and then Arizona files a lawsuit, I mean, how is that going to affect the management of the river? We're getting down to the point where there's not much water left.
And I think lawsuits are inevitable in this case. I don't see how there's a possibility where we all just go, oh, great, let's move on now. It's gonna continue to go and then go some more. You can see it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what's interesting is Metropolitan is not the bad guy here. Actually, Metropolitan is out there really working with a lot of people and a lot of agencies. And they have, actually, when California got cut off back in 2003 for the QSA, and they lost a lot of water, Metropolitan had to make up that water somehow. So they went out to Bard and Palo Verde Irrigation District, who have the oldest rights on the river, and they set up fallowing programs where they needed water. They would pay the farmers to not farm and use that water. And they've done a lot of work in those communities in terms of the other types of impacts that something like that can be, the secondary impacts. So they provide funding for that. They work with the Quechan Indians. They build reservoirs and line canals in exchange for the conserved water. They put money on the table. They're really quite cooperative and collaborative, because they have to be, because Metropolitan's rights are junior to Imperial Irrigation District's rights. So
and we're not even talking about the elephant in the room of the Salton Sea. I mean, what's that without California, without Colorado River?
Yeah, and they finally had to cut off the water to the Salton Sea, which was, admittedly, IID admitted it, that it was sort of slop over from their canals and drainage from their fields, and they just would let it go to the sea, and that was the main inflows to the sea. And the other Colorado River states said, I think back around 2003 and all that, they said no Colorado River, we're not going to give you water for the Salton Sea. So the other states are against it. So California and Bureau Reclamation has, gotten some water and some projects done, but the Imperial Irrigation District had to stop wasting the water, which that's the slop and the drainage that flowed to the sea. So, but
I think Patrick O'Dowd and the Salton Sea Authority certainly has their job cut out for that.
It's a smelly situation.
It's like what is normal farm runoff and some irrigation slop to the Imperial Valley is wasted water to everybody else on the river, that you just let that water flow out there. So with
the Pacific Flyway going through there, it's going to be a really tough habitat crisis if we don't end up doing something in that space. So we really need to have some kind of plan, even if it's not the glory days of the 60s. It can still be something beautiful and meaningful and support the local ecology.
Yes, and we should point out before Rob cuts us off, because you're going to commercial break, that the state of California has been doing projects out there.
Yes, thank you, Wade.
They're doing what they can, So it's not like they're doing nothing. The question is, is enough happening on a scale enough to make the difference that is needed? And there really are people out there working very hard to do that.
I was just going to say, yes, we need a plan. They need a plan. Plans take forever, and we don't have a lot of forever time. We need to solve it now and quickly. Anyway, so get my 2 words in for the moment. But that was good. That was great. But everybody listening, do what we do. Every morning we turn on our laptops, and I get this nice little package coming over from Miss Austin, and it's her Maven's Notebook. It's a great thing to read. Get up-to-date things behind the scenes, what's happening with water. And I do want to talk to her next week about the certified crop advisors because of the Sigma situation that all the farmers have to live up to, which is tough, really tough. But anyway, we'll cover that. We'll cover that in a week or so. But go to mavensnotebook.com, become a subscriber. It's a great place to get the information. You'll get it first thing in the morning, and if you feel good about it, you can also become a sponsor of her. A little small donation helps her keep going, and she does it all by herself. She has other people with different segments on the show and on her blog, such as Justin Scott Coe and some other people who do book reviews on water and things. So it's a really great place to get your information, is what I'm saying. And Miss Austin, just so you know, Mr. Davey is listening. He always checks in, and he's informed me just a few minutes ago he's listening to the conversation. So he's very pleased. Anyway, we're going to take a break from NBC News because I have to do that as always. And Chris, we'll talk to you next week. You have a good, and hope your mom and dad are doing well.
All right.
Good
evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Bye.
All right, we're going to take a little short break and be back with some featured guests, so stick around. It's going to be an interesting conversation about technology.
Is now exiting.
Water is one of the biggest expenses for communities, HOAs, universities, golf courses, and resorts. So keeping those costs under control, especially when rates are increasing while water supplies are being reduced, are often essential to a customer's survival. Managing water requires multiple skills, which is why it's been complicated and difficult until now. AquaTrack brings multiple skills and technologies together to help large system users conserve outdoor water and improve the health of their landscapes. AquaTrack's professionals are certified landscape water managers and certified landscape irrigation auditors. The company offers audit services, upgrade advice, technical expertise, and water use monitoring. We already manage irrigation water for the largest homeowner associations in Arizona, and we're prepared to bring our knowledge and experience to help others, including landscapers and designers. Give us a call and hear how AquaTrack saved one HOA some 430 million gallons of water and $200,000 in annual water expenses. AquaTrack is Arizona-based, and you can reach us at 623-594-8689. That's 623-594-8689.
This fall, the partner points will add up like never before with SiteOne's Fall into Points promotion. For a limited time, earn triple points on all FX Luminaire products, as well as double points on Hunter valves, sprays, and nozzles. Hunter and FX Luminaire, industry leaders in irrigation and lighting, are here to make sure you're getting the quality and performance your projects and customers demand. Plus, customers in the Hunter Preferred program will earn 100 Preferred program bonus points when they buy $1,500 or more of FX Luminaire at one time. Get ready to fall into points this September and October at SiteOne.
All right, welcome back to the second half of the Water Zone. Hope everybody's tuned in and having a great time. And great conversation you guys, you ladies had, and we have to do a whole show with that and go on. So that was great. Anyway, we have our featured guest today is a gentleman named Anthony Giudice, and he's the co-founder and president of a company called Aquaflow. And they have some pretty unique product, and we're going to talk about that. So I'll call him Tony. Tony, how are you doing today?
I'm excellent. How about yourself?
Doing great. I'm really interested in your product, and I think it's really good for our listeners to hear what you're going to say. But let me start off with, how did you get into this business and have a career into water? And what made you think of coming up with this product? What was the problem that you saw that needed to be addressed?
Okay, so essentially obviously water is an issue throughout the world, and this show is obviously dedicated to that. When it comes to billing of water and water meters are intended and designed to register volume. If you blow through it with your mouth or you run water through it, it will spin exactly the same way as if water was going through it. Therefore, when water travels anytime through a pipe more than 10 meters, it will turn into what's called a turbulent flow inside of the pipe, which is a combination of an air and water mixture. As that mass travels underneath the meter, the volume is recorded, therefore the customer is now paying for both. So when our solution is installed, it will force the meter to read true water consumption and not a combination of that air and water mixture. Every country is different, but in the U.S., we say up to 30%. The highest we've ever had is 47. The lowest is 9, with a nationwide average of 18 to 22. So the end of the answer to the question is to help people get money back for water that they were not actually using. The meter companies, they all say it flat out in their disclaimers that their meters are not accurate. The water companies say their billing is not accurate. This is a product, when installed, will force the meter to be as accurate as possible.
So when they use the flow meters, the different manufacturers, does the flow affect different types of flow meters, like paddle wheel or ultrasonic? Does that have a difference in performance with your product?
Yes. So the ultrasonic meters are better at detecting air, obviously with that technology. So they'll tend to be the 10 to 20% savings people. However, those properties tend to usually be very large. When we deal with like ultrasonic meters, like we just had a customer recently, they have about $120,000 bill. They're saving about 14%. They're absolutely ecstatic per month off their water and sewer bill. But if you had somebody that had a $1,000 bill, that they might not be as thrilled as the person with the 120.
For some of the lay people, how does the air get into the water line? And then when the water is running and the air gets out and you shut the water off, it starts that process again? There's more air going to get in as it turns on?
Sure, I'll explain it to you. And I know there's live people, so if anybody wants to go and watch visually what I'm talking about, you can go to aquaflow.com AQUAFLOW.com, and just scroll down to the middle of the page, and you'll see a YouTube video there, which is going to be exactly what I'm explaining now. So what happens is the valve, anywhere in the world, it is illegal to put anything on the municipality side of the meter. So then they say, well, how do you install something on your side of the property but affect the water that's incoming that hasn't passed through the meter yet? So what is actually happening is the valve is designed and calibrated actually to every specific install that it gets through a site survey done by a licensed plumber. Then when we get that report back, it goes to our engineering team, and they make any recommendations and things like that for the install. And as I'm thinking of actually two different things here, but when then the install is done, in an average of 32 minutes with about an hour of water shutoff time. It's like extremely simple. Plumbers are like, this is the easiest thing I've ever installed. Most of our customers get their money back within the first year. Some get it as quickly as 1 month.
So one question I have is actually related to the pressure that's created. Does it impact the other side of the pipes? And if not, fantastic. I just would love to hear your thoughts on what that looks like.
So I'll go over, I just wanted to go over that, and then I'll go over how the actual valve works and everything. So once the valve is installed, calibrated, like I said, the water will hit up against the calibrated valve that is calibrated to that specific installation. What's happening, and it happens instantaneously, if anybody's watching the video, they'll see it live, when you'll see the water go from a turbulent flow to a laminar flow. And what's happened is the water is 65 times heavier than air. So the valve is creating a slight back pressure and instantly opens. And that causes the water to I like to say, like soldiers, they all get packed together, and therefore the air is compressed. You cannot remove the air from the line. The air needs to be there in order to move the water, or the water would not move. So when the valve is installed, it creates that compression zone preceding the valve, anywhere from 50 to 100 feet. Inside of that 50 to 100 feet, the water is in a compressed state called a laminar flow. Once it goes through the valve, it will decompress and go back to its turbulent flow, which is necessary to keep the water moving along.
Does this come in various sizes? Because the pipes are different in different places, from 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch, all the way up to many inches.
Well, in 5/8, one of the most popular single-family residential sizes.
Yep.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, we have from 3/4 inch all the way up to 32 inch. Our in-stock sizes are 3/4 inch, 1, 1.5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8. Everything in increments of 2 after that we make to order. We are the manufacturer. Surprisingly, nobody fall out of your chair. We make these in the United States. And they're manufactured in Florida. All of our products come with a 6-month money-back guarantee. It's exactly as it says. 6 months, you can give it back at any time. We'll take it back. They come with a lifetime manufacturer warranty. We are the manufacturer. And we have a free trial program for anybody that has a $1,500 water bill or more. They just simply call us up. We give them the product free to try for 90 days. As I mentioned to you, most of the people get their money back in the first year. We have quite a bit of customers that will actually get their money back during the free trial. So they essentially pay their bill with the money that we loan them the valve to save money with. So
do you primarily focus on commercial customers?
Everything, commercial and residential.
So I would assume with the product that you've designed, does it help reduce the hammerhead effect?
Yes, you're talking about water hammering?
Yep.
It wasn't designed to do this, but in fact, it stops 100% of water hammering at the valve. It just happens to be an added caveat that it does, but it wasn't. I want to be honest and say it wasn't intended. but it stops it 100% at the valve. So what will happen is if you lose water, right, which we all do, and then you hear it come back on, you hear those loud bang, bang, low waters, okay? None of that will ever happen. So what will happen is as that air is coming, there's not enough water to open the valve. So that air is getting stop. Here comes some water. Okay, now the valve will open, and it will let just the water flow.
Bonus effect.
Yeah. It had a good rhythm to it. I like to listen to it sometimes because it has a nice, good drum beat to it. So the material you make is I'm sure it's got to be stainless.
It's 316L medical grade steel, which we absolutely have to have because of the certifications we hold, which is IAMPO, CAN 61, NSF, ANSI, and Kiwa. And they both on an engineering side and obviously safety and health. So we install in hospitals and things like that. So this water is perfectly safe to drink, touch, put on your baby, put on your dog, put it in your mouth. And then on an engineering side, no licensed plumber or company, large company for that matter, would ever put a product in that's not certified to obviously protect their infrastructure. And so we have that pretty much globally.
Is that the only type product that you manufacture?
Right now, this is the only one. We have one under patent right now that's going to be for gasoline. So I'm sure everybody knows when you pump gasoline, you can actually hear the air coming out with your gas. So when this is used with your gas, you'll get 8% more fuel on average. So when you put in $20, you'll get, you'll end up getting more fuel because the meter is not correct as well, and same thing in the gas, like it is in water. These devices are used in the oil industry as well, although we don't make them, but they're used very, 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 very much all over the world to make sure that they're filling the ships with the same amount of oil that it says on the meter.
You think the big oil companies will like that because then they could sell more oil the way they're doing it now?
Yeah. Anyway, what an interesting thing too, we deal with a lot of huge companies that own very large real estate portfolios, and ironically, of course, they care about saving money, but then they talk about the increase to the values of their properties and/or businesses. So with commercial real estate, for example, when you figure out the value of a property, you take the cap rate, you take the interest rate, and you take the net operating income, and then you have a formula. At a 4% cap rate, you're at about $250,000 increase the property value for every $10,000 you increase the net operating income. So we have customers that, we increased their building by $3 million in valuation in 1 month because we increased their bill. We decreased their bill by a little over $10,000 a month. So for every $10,000 is $250. So and what's happened since COVID is obviously everybody knows interest rates have gone up. As those go up, the property values go down automatically, and they look for ways to claw back any kind of money they can, but nowhere near the kind of money they can get back with something like this product.
And what industries are seeing the most success?
I would say our largest industry that we install in, has the most installation, is car washes, followed by assisted living facilities, followed by commercial real estate, and then, going on. And obviously we do stadiums, we do golf courses, we do hospitals, we do colleges, we do, anybody that has a water bill is obviously a perfect candidate. However, for the free trial, they just have to have a water bill of $1,500 or more a month, which almost every commercial customer fits into. So it's just a win-win situation, for everybody. So, it's all about obviously helping people save money. The product will also actually save you water. And the way that this works is it only works in timed water events, not measured water events. And when you watch the video, for anybody that's watched it, you're going to notice that it makes for an efficient flow, the valve, so you don't have peaks and valleys kind of like a heartbeat you'd see in a hospital. You're going to have a more like an arc, right? So what it does is it stabilizes your GPM, which is gallons per minute. So when you're opening a lot of consumption points and you're having major pressure changes up, down, toilet flush, this, that, the other thing, the flow rate is changing constantly. But this will make for a more efficient flow. So in measured water events, which would be flushing a toilet bowl, you need a gallon to fill it back up. You can't trick the toilet bowl. It won't work. So it's got to get a gallon. But when you take a shower, you don't tell, your husband or your wife or your kids, I'm going to take a 15-gallon shower. You say, I'm going to take a 15-minute shower. And if you're in the shower for 15 minutes, you would actually not notice whatever the flow rate was. It's minimal. But if you, instead of using 17 gallons of water, you use 15, you would never notice the difference. And that's how the valve will help customers also save up to 9% in water consumption.
Is there any maintenance that has to be performed with the valve?
Zero. I don't remember the product, but back in the day, they used to say, set it and forget it. That's what this is. So I like to tell customers, I will never sell a valve to you, for your location, not to you, not to your kids, not to your grandkids, and probably not even to your great-grandkids. The valve also, people want to know what happens if it breaks. Well, we have not had one break since this technology was developed in the early 2000s, 2001 to 2003. But we have not had one break since 2010, roughly, 2011. But if it was to fail, it fails open. So it never fails to where the customer loses water. It fails to where they're not saving anymore, and they'll notice a spike in their water bill, and then they have to either determine, is this a leak or is this the valve? Most always it would be obviously a leak. But that is obviously other ways that the product saves money.
Does any
sorry, go ahead.
Does any contamination or minerals affect this in the long term?
Not at all, because it's made of 316L medical grade steel. It's the highest grade, most anti-corrosive steel you can get. It comes with a 50-year anti-corrosion guarantee direct from the factory. I had surgery on my wrist. I had a little bit of a motorcycle fall, and I have 316 medical grade steel in my arm. It will not, absolutely, hard water doesn't affect it. Chemicals do not affect it. It is, and then we are inspected twice a year from almost every certification agency that we work with. They come to our facility and they make sure that we're absolutely using the steel that we say we're using, and even more so in Kiwa, which is a European certification, they actually made us buy an O-ring, literally a small O-ring from a specific company so that it would be approved in Europe.
Mm.
So it's very, very technical on that side.
Go ahead.
So going back to customer risk, and we know customers hate risk, what happens if installation something goes horribly wrong? What do you do then, and what could they do? Great
question. So years ago, that used to be an issue. We used to send out the valve and let plumbers do the install. And then they would say things like, hey, the customer has no water. What do you mean they have no water? Did you look at the instructions? What instructions? Did you check the pressure? No. Did you put the right spring in? What springs? So we realized that's a problem because it's a very easy product to install. Its average install is 32 minutes. It's the same as installing a check valve. It's very easy. So now the way that we do it is there's a site survey on our website, and every plumber, he or she in the field, will fill that out live, actually at the site. It gets uploaded to our engineering team. We calibrate the valve, so there's nothing for the plumber to do. When I tell you, it's as quick as just grabbing it, putting it in, and leaving. That's it. So to answer your question, is those problems are pretty much non-existent at this point.
Well, I have to commend you for using 316. When I used to work for the Emerson Corporation, we were making flow meters and flow stuff, and we used 316 Vinvar, and it had to be built in a Class 100 clean room. and that is the best material to use. So I commend you on that. Your product looks so robust. It's amazing. Now, do you sell direct or do you go through distribution? How do people get a product or get some more information on that?
We have actually a few different programs. So we have over 300 independent contractors out in the United States right now, and they're selling. I didn't even say selling; they're giving away the valve for free. So they give away the valve for free, and then we obviously have our own internal people as well. We have internal salespeople. We have our own call center, which we're calling, offering free trials to people. Then we have some resellers that have their own teams. Like one has like 42 people, another one has say 20 people underneath them, and that's kind of here in the United States because it's such a huge market that we can kind of play with many different forms of getting the product into people's hands. Now, when we go to other countries, it's different because some countries are very small. Someone doesn't want to be a distributor, then have another distributor stepping on their toes, so to speak. So depending on the size of the countries outside, like for instance, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, they have one distributor. The UK is owned by us. We do it there. There's one getting registered in France now, and that'll be for him only. So it just really depends on where geographically it is, the population, and then even, believe it or not, the savings are different completely. So, for example, in South America, Brazil, Colombia, places like that, everybody I'm sure listening is familiar with New York. So I'll use that as an analogy. They don't have the infrastructure to pump water for 24 hours continuously. So they'll pump it for 8 hours, say to Manhattan, shut it off. Then 8 hours to Brooklyn, shut it off. Then 8 hours to Queens, shut it off, and then go back to Manhattan. When it goes back to Manhattan, until the pipe's acclimatized, it's mostly air coming through the pipe. The air is way ahead of the water. So that meter will spin and spin and spin and spin and spin, just calculating money for them until the water comes, which sometimes is in for like an hour. So we get really big savings in countries like that, over 50%.
I would assume in the hot part of the United States, for example, Southwest and such, from Florida to California, Arizona, and Texas, a lot of people have pools, and water gets warm. I know I have something different than most people have. They have heaters on their pool. I have a chiller unit on my pool, and that cools it down because you get in the pool, and when it's hot out here at 116 degrees, it's over 90 degrees in the pool, so you need to cool it down. And a lot of people don't want a heat pump to be used, because you can use a heat pump for both heat and reverse that for cooling. But I can see a lot of people spending tons of money on filling their gigantic pools up, and aside from irrigation, because most houses where I'm living, the square footage of the property is not that great, predominantly, but and everybody puts drip in, but they do all have pools, and so that's where a lot of wasted meter readings can go to. And these work with any. Sure. They're compatible with any product like Badger or anybody else who makes their equipment. Correct? Doesn't affect
Absolutely.
them in a bad way.
Absolutely. I'll tell you. I can't tell you who it is because they're under NDA with us. But I will tell you, they're probably the largest meter company in the world, and we're working directly with them right now. And they obviously know their meters are not accurate. We're very, very close to working a deal with them where they're going to be selling our product with their meter and basically saying, here's the meter, here's the product. If I told you the company, you'd be like, wow. So we finally got a company to admit it. Not, because we like to say before that we are a frenemy, friend and enemy. So we're helping, conserve water and do things, but we're an enemy in another way, right? So we are a frenemy. So, now the relationship is getting very, very close with, like I said, one of the largest companies in the world.
Where can, because we have about 30 seconds left, turn this over to NBC News. Where how do people get in touch with you?
The best way I would say is go to Aquaflow, AQUAFLOW.com. Everything's there. I suggest everybody watch the video because it's amazing when you watch it live in action. You'll understand it. And, like I said, the product's free for trial. Give us a call, give us an email, whatever. And I want to thank you for having me on the show as well. It was definitely a pleasure. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Tony. We really appreciate it too. Well, thanks for calling in to us, and for our listeners, don't forget, if you like green, you got to have blue. That's what Chris and I used to say, and I'm going to continue that forever and ever. And thanks for joining us. We have a great conversation coming up next week and the week after, so stick around for that. And we'll see you and talk to you on the week. So have a good weekend.
NBC News on KC.